This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. John Bush wants to know, how would a match between FTR and the Brainbusters go? You and Tully would be the heel in this scenario. He also continues, I've been a fan of yours for over 30 years. I just want to thank you personally for everything. I always look forward to your matches, and I absolutely love the Spinebuster. So way to go, John. Appreciate all the compliments for our pal Arn here. What do you think though? How would that match go? The Brainbusters and FTR.
Well, are we all in the same time frame when proper ages? Is this a wish list?
We're going to say everybody's 30. How's that?
Everybody's 30. Okay. All right. I don't know. It sure would be interesting to match wits with those guys. They're quick studies and they're very talented, and the thing about it is they know who they're patterning themselves after. It's not like they're saying when guys compare them to us, they're the first ones to say you're 100% right. They don't deny it. They've copied our thought process more so than the actual move set. It's the thought process. It's the being a team and truly understanding where your partner is at all times. If you get in trouble, he's just an arm reach away. That's ring positioning and cutting the ring off and isolating your opponent onto your half of the ring so that if you do get in trouble, you're just a tag away. And those guys have perfected it. They're a lot more athletic than Tully and I will ever be. That's for sure. And that's just evolution of the entire crew of these young wrestlers. And any company you want to pick out there, you look at them athletically and just go, God, I couldn't have even thought of that or pictured that in my mind, much less pulled it off. As far as us wrestling them, I still would like to think that the one advantage we might have is we were a little nastier. Our thought process was a little bit more vicious, and I have no problem kicking a guy's knee out from under him or punting him in the head or anything we had to do to gain an advantage. And Tully didn't have a problem with it either. And I think these guys have a skill set that is beyond ours. I just don't know if they have that nasty, vicious frame of mind that we had. And that would be our advantage. Theirs would be the advantage that they're just technically more sound than we are.
It's interesting to talk about FTR too, because I think a lot of times when we fans see a really successful tag team, we start to think about the inevitability of, well, one day these guys will split up and then they'll go on to be single stars. And I wonder what that'll look like, because we've seen it with the Hart Foundation or the British Bulldogs or the Rockers. Heck, even you and Tully were singles competitors. But for whatever reason, I just don't get that impression with FTR. I tend to think that their goal is to stay a tag team. I mean, I'm not asking you to reveal any sort of trade secrets or inside knowledge that you have, but would it surprise you if those guys remained a tag team forever?
Well, backing up a little bit, Tully and I never split up.
Right.
We went separate ways, because of business decisions, but it was, we never got into a feud or anything of that nature. These guys are committed to being a team, and I think being the best team when it's all said and done, that ever lived. And I think that's a very achievable goal for them, and I think it's a admirable one because if they do become that team and they do, survive the test of time, that will have meant they've been in some incredible tag matches with some of the best teams alongside them of their era. I don't see them splitting up. I think their goals are too consistent. I think their friendship is too consistent, and they really are tight, close friends. And I don't see that. And to be honest with you, I don't want to see them split up.
Right.
I think the sum of the parts is more valuable than them individually.
Yeah, I agree too. I hope they stick together. This is an interesting. Ramones wants to know, or I'm sorry, Rambones. What a name. Who is your top tag team from the 20th century? And who's your top team so far in the 21st century? And where do you see tag team wrestling going in the next 20 years? A lot to unpack here. I don't think I'm stepping on a limb to say your favorite modern team right now is FTR, right?
Yes, sir.
So who is your favorite tag team of the prior century? Midnights, rock and rolls, somebody else?
Well, both of those, I would say that's two of the ones that really stand out. I guess my favorite of all time would have to be Slater and Orton because they are the ones that inspired me to want to be a wrestler.
Well, there you go. Slater and Orton. I don't know that I would have guessed that, but that's cool. And then what do you
They,
think wrestling's going in the next 20 years? Tag team wrestling, that is.
I think it will always be around because it gives four guys the chance to go out and really shine in the confines of one match. And when it's done well, it's kind of hard to follow a great tag match. And I truly believe that. You have the championships on the right team, and you have the right challengers, and you have the right story in place, and you got 30 minutes to get it done. It's hard to follow a great tag match.
Interesting question here. One we've never really talked about. Mayhem wants to know, what was it like feeding a comeback for baby faces like Ricky Morton or Magnum TA, where every bump you take is a wall of noise from screaming fans, or dealing with a constant roar from the Rock and Roll Express's female fans? Does that throw off your timing in the ring?
Hell no. It lit a fire under my ass. It's what I live for. You can go back and watch some of those old television tapings or stuff. And from the moment, those guys came through the curtain to the moment they went back through the curtain, it was like just a constant, if that came across right on, it just was a constant roar from the crowd, and they never got quiet. And it just, as we all know, ask any athlete what helps drive you. Obviously being in shape, loving the sport that you're in, or however you want to put it, or an entertainer who's in, a high wire act in the, Cirque du Soleil, doesn't matter, pro football, basketball, whatever. The thing that drives you, the freebie that you get is adrenaline, and the audience gives you adrenaline, and that's what fuels your performance. And when they are just ape shit for the entire time, or most of the time you're in the ring, that's the adrenaline rush you get that fuels you. And that's what puts some of your performances over the top.
Instagram a wrestling historian wants to know, what was it about Tully Blanchard that made him your best tag team partner? That's an interesting question, because we know you had Ole, we know you had Larry Zbyszko, but your old pal Bobby Eaton, he's up there in that rarefied air as being one of the most universally well respected and most talked about great tag team wrestlers ever, and one of your very best friends. What was it about Tully that made it special with you and him?
His wrestling IQ was advanced beyond mine. His thought process was really advanced as far as how to utilize me. The fact that we were oil and water, we were totally different in our styles. Tully was second generation, and I've said before, those guys just have the advantage on the rest of us because they grow up in the business. Tully was really, really smart. He was really one of those guys, and he was such an asshole that it just bled through to the audience. Tully might have been respected. A lot of people, will tell the truth these days. They'll say, I respected Tully's ability, but I really didn't like him.
Right.
And that's the best way to describe it, because he was a horseman. He lived it 100%. He had the watch, he had the wardrobe, He drove the Mercedes. You know, he lived the lifestyle of a horseman. And it was one of those things that you knew when Tully Blanchard came through the curtain, you were looking at a professional. And he believed that his, you know, crap didn't stink. And he, to this day, he just has that swagger about him. You know, when you see him walking around, once he gains his confidence in his setting, he owns the room. And that's the way he was. And he was so good at utilizing my skills to complement his skills and turn it into a formidable team. And I learned a lot from him, and I give him a lot of credit for the success that the Horsemen had, because he was the one constant. He was the one heel in the ring that everybody despised.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.